You know, it's not often we have a big tech story to start things off when we do our tech sector or tech segment rather here on the show. But this week is an exception. A story that broke just a couple of days ago, a gigantic, and I say gigantic because I think the last number I saw was something like 6 million, but maybe by now it's even higher than that. Login credentials, passwords been leaked online from a variety of different sites. So Carmi Levy, CTV tech analyst, on this story to kick things off today. Carmi, usually we see, it's companies or a company that's been affected, but this one is much more widespread.
Yeah, this is huge. You're not going to like the number, Aaron. It's 16 billion credentials, which is login information, usernames, passwords from sites and services and apps and platforms that we all use every day. Google, Facebook, Apple, and others, government agencies as well. And they're saying this comes to us from researchers at Cyber News. It's a cybersecurity outlet. And they found about 30 different data sets. In other words, this isn't just from one breach. It's from a bunch of them. And cyber criminals basically take the data as it is liberated, and they just keep adding it to an ever-growing pile. And so, the worry here, because there are two for every person on planet Earth if we do the math, the worry isn't that, the sky's going to fall tonight. However, it is a reminder that if you've been using the same password for a while and using the same password across multiple services and you haven't sort of gone into your settings to tighten things up, you don't use two-factor authentication or encryption, now's the time for us to maybe do that. Give ourselves a little bit of a security tune-up because this information is out there. And as we keep having high-profile breaches like this, that landscape outside becomes more threatening. And if we're slack when it comes to password security, eventually we're going to get caught.
So I guess every time a story like this comes out, my question, of course, is, what do you do if you find out you're one of those people? What's your first action here?
Change your password. That's all. That's really all you need to do. Because it's really easy. Just go into the settings and change it. And if you have the same password on a number of different services, stop doing that. Use unique passwords for each service. And then if that's too much of a hassle, because a lot of people, they don't want to remember all these different passwords, use a password management app like 1Password or Dashlane or NordPass, which basically allows you to put all of your services into one app. Then it worries about signing you in. It worries about updating your passwords and making sure that they're secure. But, we tend to stick our heads in the sand on this one. Oh, they'd never be interested in me. Who really cares? I'm not that, famous and my data isn't worth something to someone. It is. We're all potentially victims. And if you use a site like haveibeenpwned.com to see, and allows you to look up your email address to see if it's been included in a past attack like this, chances are it will be. Chances are it will pop. So that should be a reminder. You've really got to do something about it.
Hold on. What site is that? Have I been cloned? That's
Have I been pwned? And pwn is PWNED, and basically what that is that your information has gotten out there and it is in the hands of a criminal. And so if there has been a major security breach and your personal information is out there, your email address was included in one of those data sets that was stolen, you go to haveibeenpwned.com, put your email address in, and then it tells you, yep, we found it here, and it gives you a list of all of the breaches, all the places where it was found. You can't change the fact that the data has been stolen. You can change the fact that now you just go change the lock on the door by updating your password. That's all you need to do. Very simple solution.
Okay. Have I been PWNED for people listening who might want to find out if they've in fact had their password stolen. By the way, can we maybe agree that maybe it's time now for people, even if you're not that, sort of comfortable, but to consider two-factor authentication for every site you're on?
That is it's almost like adding a second lock onto your front door, because that way, even if the criminals have your password, they'll get past the password, but they won't get past, say, your PIN or your fingerprint or your facial recognition. And so just about every major app and service, including those from Apple and Microsoft and Google and Meta, they all offer two-factor authentication, but they're not turned on by default. So we have to go into the settings and turn them on, and I absolutely recommend that we all do that. Yes, it's a little bit less convenient. It might slow you down a little bit, but that little bit of inconvenience is a lot safer. And given how many passwords are out there these days, it could be the difference between being victimized and not being victimized. Highly recommended.
Okay. Let me move on to this next story because, of course, there's not enough to worry about with AI. Now you have basically the godfather of AI, as he's described, saying Don't worry, it'll be only the intellectually mundane jobs that will disappear thanks to AI.
Dr. Jeffrey Hinton, he was a professor of computer science at the University of Toronto. He also invented much of the AI technology and process that we use when we use tools like ChatGPT. So he really is the godfather of AI. He won the Nobel Physics Prize last year for his work on AI. So when he speaks, people listen. He's been traveling the world for a couple of years since he quit Google as their top AI scientist, warning people about the threats of AI and the sort of the threats to humanity's future. Now he's saying it's coming for your job. This isn't anything new. We've been hearing this, this extinction event of mass categories of jobs since AI first became a thing. But certainly when Dr. Hinton speaks, people listen. Basically what he's saying is we need to be prepared for it. It's not like every job's going to get wiped out. AI will create new jobs as well. We just don't know what those jobs are. Maybe AI ethicist or prompt engineer. But if you look back, look at the office of today versus an office from 20 or 30 years ago. You wouldn't recognize it because technology has rewritten the way we live. Let's not be naive. AI will be no different.
Let's close it off with this story here. One fitness accessory that makes you up to 7 times more likely to stay active. What are we talking about here?
Take a look at your wrist. It is a smartwatch. And so researchers from Canada and the UK, they took a bunch of recent diabetes patients, so folks who have been recently diagnosed with diabetes, and they wanted to see, hey, if we give them a smartwatch and then we give them access to coaching so that they can become more fit, will that help them become healthier and be better diabetes patients, not subject to the ravages of diabetes? Disclosure, my wife is type 2 diabetic, so we live this. And they found that those who were given a smartwatch and were also given access to remote coaching, they were 10 times more likely to start working out regularly, 7 times more likely to still be active 6 months later, 3 times more likely to be active a year later, and over half of the group were meeting recommended activity levels after the end of the program. Only 17% of those who didn't have smartwatches were. So smartwatches make a huge difference. They're great motivators. Whether you have diabetes or not, they can help you lead a much healthier life. And I've got a Garmin on my right wrist, an Apple Watch that I'm testing on my left wrist, and I probably will never take them off.
Wow. But add the part about, that's all well and good to have the watch, but then you need to sort of have a dedicated program to help you know what to do.
You do, and that's the thing, is this program they actually had a coaches who worked directly with the patients, and of course, for most of us, that isn't the case. However, their data does show that there is a benefit just from having the watch itself as well. So in other words, you will have better outcomes if you just have a smartwatch. And interestingly, Apple just announced an update to its Apple Watch, which will be available in September. It's called Fitness Buddy, which is basically like an AI coach who talks in your ear while you work out and helps you plan better workouts. So, this is one of those good uses of AI. Come September, if you've got an Apple Watch, the upgrade is free.
Very cool. All right. Carmi Levy, interesting as always. Thanks so much, Carm.
Appreciate it, Aaron.
All right.